Hi everyone, Paul Akers, host of the American Innovator. You know, the innovative spirit is alive and well, and everywhere I travel around the world, I bring back ideas and creativity to share with my audience to continuously improve and change the way we live. Welcome to the American Innovator. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the American Innovator. This week we're going to have a fun time. We've got a great book that we're going to talk about, and we've got the author with us today, Karin Lindner, and the name of the book is How Can We Make Manufacturing Sexy? What a crazy title. Karin, you must be a wild and crazy woman, or what's with the title?
Well, crazy is good, no?
Crazy's awesome because it gets it gets attention.
That's right. Yeah, I wanted to do something different. Maybe a little bit controversial because
Right.
I believe, if we want to create change, we have to do something that is outside the box.
Absolutely. You got to get people's attention because everyone's just kind of got their head down and they're not thinking about what's possible. And your book is so much about what is possible. Before we get going into the book, though, let's give everyone a little bit of your background. You're from Austria. You live in Canada now. Tell me a little bit about yourself so we have some background before we get into the book specific.
Sure, I moved from Austria to Canada 10 years ago. Started to work at Magna International, a big automotive supplier.
Hmm?
And yeah, by the end of 2006, I lost my job due to restructuring. And I decided to start my own business because even though Magna is a great company, I experienced there that there's a tremendous communication gap between management and the workforce. Both have their own unique challenges, but there really is no shared reality. And I thought that at the time that I have discovered a niche market.
Right. So you were in leadership. You were in management there, correct?
No, I worked in human resources
Okay. All right. Very good.
in
And
the training in the
and so,
training.
what is the big disconnect between management and the people on the floor, if you will? Why are they living in two different worlds?
Many times uh, management doesn't leave the office. They are so pressured um, providing numbers, quarterly results, that there is simply no time for that. And this results in a tremendous disconnect between workforce and management. And on the other hand, the workers, they think they are not important. They are just a number producing every month, but nobody really cares if they are only physically there or mentally as well. And I think companies don't even realize the lost potential they
Yeah.
have.
So in other words, in a nutshell, what you're saying is, you've got your worker on the shop floor doing the work and they're putting out maybe 50, 60%. And there's a whole other 40% or even more than that that's not being tapped into because we're not connecting with them. We're not finding out what they think about the job and how to improve it.
Absolutely. There is a lot of unused brain power on the production floor.
Yeah. So,
So
Karin, I don't know if you're aware of this, but do you know that I have my office on the shop floor? I have no office, and that I have a rolling desk that's about 3 foot by 3 foot, and it sits on the shop floor, and I'm with the manufacturing people all day long. Did
and
you?
that's how it should be.
Yeah, did you know that about
No,
me?
I
No,
didn't. I
so
didn't.
we're talking kindred spirits here because this is exactly what I believe. The greatest joy I have is when I'm on the shop floor working side by side with the people who are really producing the value for the company because they're making the things that people want to buy. So I chose about 4 years ago to remove myself from my office and get down onto the shop floor. It's a big deal for us at our company.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like people don't realize how what impact it has
Right.
when the people feel management is around them and they are involved.
Yeah, there's a team. All of a sudden it becomes a team. It's not us and them.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so you wrote this book called How to Make Manufacturing Sexy. What's the premise of the book? I mean, why sexy?
Why sexy? We, there's so much talk about attracting our young people to the workforce, for example, right? But the image of manufacturing is simply still like it's dumb, it's boring, it's dangerous, and it's simply not true anymore. So we have to create a different image for the manufacturing industry.
Right.
And sexy really resonates with our young people.
Sure.
They want to have so much more than simply producing numbers. They want to create something of value. They want to be part of it. And I think the the word is the right choice, to be honest with
Right.
you.
So the idea is sexy is attractive. When you're sexy, you attract people to look at you naturally. So manufacturing should be, wow, that's cool. I want to be a part of that. I want to get in there and get my hands dirty and feel what it's like to actually create something that somebody else wants to buy. So that's the sexy part of it.
That's right. But for me as a woman, it means something completely different. For me, it means being confident, getting
Okay.
attention, and
Ah,
providing attraction.
I
And
see.
none of this is really true right now for the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think there aren't very many plants, and I've traveled and been in plants all over the world, and there aren't a lot of plants that I can tell you I walk into and say, wow, I want to be on that team. But I have been to a couple that are outrageous, namely Omron in Japan. I've been to Toyota and Lexus. I mean, amazing operations. I've actually been to Porsche, BMW, and Mercedes, and wow, those are pretty sexy plants in terms of what's going on there. I think there are some good examples out there of plants being sexy, but I think by and large, manufacturing is not like, hey, I want to go do that job.
That's right. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can feel it when I walk through the door.
Oh,
Just
really?
by the way the receptionist is greeting me, by the way people talk, by the way how they walk, I can
Ah,
sense what's going on in the plant.
interesting. Now, where do you live in Canada?
I live just a little bit outside of Toronto.
Okay, well, we want you to come out to the West Coast. We want you to visit us in Bellingham and see what you think.
Yes,
Because
absolutely,
we have a
absolutely.
lot of fun all day long. We say it's like Christmas Day at our plant every day because we're always discovering new ways to improve everything. So everything's always getting better. So hopefully you'll feel that exact vibe that you're looking for when you come to our plant.
Yeah, and I mean that's the that is exactly what you just said that creates the excitement for the people. Because
Absolutely.
if they come in and if they are on autopilot, they don't even turn their brain on.
And we're getting a fraction of what they're capable of.
Absolutely. And you know, I hate to say it, most people are not used to use their brain because somebody else is doing all the thinking for
Right.
them.
Because we don't expect them to use their brain.
That's right.
At our company, we expect everyone to use their brain. And not only do we expect it, we train them in a morning meeting where we study history, culture, literature, the Constitution. And we're constantly getting those brain cells turned on so that they do use it because we know that's the most important part they bring to the table.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
mean, this is really what keeps companies relevant going
Right.
forward. And I hate to say it, but those companies that resist change, there is no progress without change. They won't be relevant going forward.
No, they won't even be in business because survival is not mandatory.
Right.
Newsflash, it is not mandatory. And I see company after company that I do visit that just don't get it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on, man. The Chinese are going to eat you alive if you don't get your act together really quick.
That's right.
So I'm
And I
sure
mean,
you feel that too.
we cannot compete with cost. We can
Right.
only compete with creativity and innovation. That's the
Right.
only way to go. And for that, the brain needs to be turned on.
Full time, all the time.
That's right.
Wow. So now in your book, you have two prefaces, one for the optimist and one for the pessimist. Why? Why'd you do that? Never seen anyone do that before. Very
I
creative.
thought, you know, I thought it's a fun way looking at it.
Hmm.
I know in the manufacturing industry, there are a lot of left brain thinkers,
Right.
and they need proof for everything.
Right.
I just wanted to encourage people with speaking to the pessimist and to the optimist
Right.
to keep an open mind and just keep reading through the book and see what you explore. And I think it's a very unique way looking at it. And we meet pessimists and optimists on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, I would say so. It's definitely an attitude, and you talk about that in the book. That really what we're talking about is coming with a certain disposition or an attitude to work. And let's talk now about how do we change manufacturing? How do we get people to turn their brain on? How do we make manufacturing sexy?
Well, the first thing is imagination.
Hmm.
Like that's what I try to do when I go out and give my talks. I bridge the gap between what is and how it could be.
Okay.
Because I realize many people in the industry, they are so busy. They are fighting fires on a daily basis.
Right.
They don't even have the time to sit down and say, well, now I imagine the future. They are just on the go all the time. But when I get them at an event, I want them to think what could be, how it could be, how can we make their life easier even.
Right.
And that's, I think, where it has to start. So in my presentations, I work a lot with pictures and I show them, this is what we have now and this is how it could be.
Okay, so in our mind's eyes, because we don't necessarily have pictures right now, give me examples of companies that, were in a current state and made it to a new state where people were turned on, engaged, and manufacturing became attractive or sexy, as you would say.
Companies I worked with.
Yeah, exactly. Well, companies you worked with.
Well, I tell you, the biggest challenge is that they keep going with the whole process, right? Because many times management, they start working, the people get all excited. And I mean, you practice lean, I understand, right?
We're no, we don't practice it. We're fanatics. Crazy fanatics over the top.
That's right. And when I work with companies, what I usually see, they want to hand over the continuous improvement or whatever they want to call it to one person or to one department. And those people are responsible for that. And this won't work. So
it never works.
You got to get everyone on board. You got to get everyone engaged, working with you.
Well, you need to come to our facility so you can do a case study on our company because we have 100% engagement from everyone.
Yeah, and you know what? And people tell me that's not possible, but it is 100% possible.
Not only is it possible, it's actually easy to do. The problem is people are not deploying the right methodologies and being purposeful about the way they do it. For us, we do it simply because the first thing we do every morning before we ever start work for 7 years is develop our people, teach, train our people, invest in them, and then we work. And when you make it a priority and you invest dollars in it, all of a sudden, it can work entirely across the organization. It isn't a second thought for us.
If the numbers are number one, it won't work.
Precisely.
If the people are number one,
it will work.
It will work.
So how do you get people to switch? Come on, you must have an example. How do you get a numbers-oriented person? Because most people at the top are numbers-driven. Yes. I happen to not be numbers driven. I don't even care about the numbers. And miraculously, the numbers keep taking care of themselves because I focus on people.
Yes. Well, the only way to do this is I actually just created a joint venture with a company in Italy. And we have numbers now to prove that it works, mainly with health and safety. I mean, there are numbers like absenteeism, for example, turnover. But there is always the question with soft skills where the company can turn around and say, well, I'm not sure we have really great numbers right now, but is it really because you worked with us?
Right.
Or are there other reasons? And they can always turn around and say, well, not really. So we have now created this joint venture with this company in Italy. And they work more on processes, on the health and safety side. And we prepare the people on the other side for change. So mindset, attitude, behaviors. What do people think when they come to work? Because if you measure employee engagement, that's great, but you still don't explore the root cause.
Right.
You don't explore what's going on inside here. And that's really the critical thing.
But the question is, Karin, can you get those people to change? Your book is perfect for a person like me. I already believe in your philosophy. I already espouse it 100%. I'm on board with you. So I read your book. You validate what I already believe. I'm saying, wow, Karin gets it. This is right on. This is beautiful, right? But then what about the guy who is crunching numbers? Are you ever going to be able to convert them? Have you ever converted them? Have you ever got them to see this other side?
Yes, you can convert them, but not if it's, let's say, a typical finance guy, because I believe people are either better with people or with numbers. So if a company is run, let's say, by the finance department, then no, it won't work. And in my experience, I have to say, companies change for two reasons. Either when the pain is so big that they have to change.
We call that a burning platform.
Yes, that's right. So hopefully it's not too late then.
Right.
Or there is some kind of change going on within management, that somebody new comes in, starts helping converting those people. But what also works really well for us is really establishing the mindset in people. You cannot always wait for the leader to create the change, even though I believe it has to be driven top down.
Right.
But people can become islands of excellence. And I tell you, I have seen so many examples where one shift just turned around and one guy started believing in it. And it does not necessarily mean that this guy has to be a supervisor or has to have an official title.
Right.
It can be simply a worker who says, oh, wow. And it opens up a whole new world for them when they learn how to deal with negativity. And when they learn that if they want to make a difference, they can, and they can influence their immediate circle of influence, basically.
And what happens to that individual? Because I get this question a lot, Karin. People will come up to me after I speak and they'll say, well, how do I do it? I'm only one guy in this one department. And I always tell them, start with yourself. You will be noticed. And before long, you'll be running the department. And then before long, you'll be elevated to running the division. Right. And before long, you'll run the company. Do you agree with that?
I do. Like, it's really, and I see it all the time when people come to my workshops, they become alive. In general, all of the people become alive, but there are a couple of individuals, they walk out of the classroom and they start applying it. Because I give them the tools and techniques what to do in order to succeed. Well,
let's jump right to it. I want to know some tools and techniques. I want to run through a little sim with me. Can you do some with me now so we can give our listeners some tools to work with and drive them to your book, hopefully?
Yeah. No, for example, like speaking about fear.
Okay.
Right? So reality is when people get promoted, let's say somebody becomes a supervisor, they should be happy. But many times they are fearful because they don't get the support they should get. And all of a sudden they are responsible for 30 people.
Right.
And I always say business would be easy if there wouldn't be any people involved. But everybody is different.
Yeah, right.
There is that. Especially here where I'm in Toronto, Ontario, there is tremendous diversity.
Right.
And so you have to learn how to deal with those different personalities. Most of the time, they don't get any support. So they are sometimes fear-driven. So it can be that they are like, oh, I don't want to show my people anything because if they are smarter than I am, they take over my job.
And you think that's a big problem? That's an interesting issue. So people are afraid of or intimidated by somebody who might be smarter than them.
That's right.
So how do you get someone to overcome that fear? Is that like the most common fear that you're seeing?
No, there are different fears. But I mean, reality is we all have fears, whatever they may be. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear somebody brings in a new software, fear of not understanding this new software.
Right.
Whatever it is, and to give them the tools and become more aware what they think, and if those thoughts serve them on a daily basis, and learning to change those thoughts that are sometimes deep in our belief system.
One of my favorite quotes about fear that rattles around in my brain constantly is fear should be a counselor, not a jailer.
Yes.
And for most people, it's a jailer.
That's right. And I mean, you can really, but if you learn to be in control, you run with the fear. It can be something that is actually really exciting.
Right.
But for most people, it holds them down.
So again, I'm going to push you. What's a tool to get somebody to overcome? So I'm a supervisor and I'm intimidated by Bob because I think Bob and Mary might know a little bit more about running the division than me because I was promoted. Well, that concludes part 1 of our interview with Karin. Join us next week where we're going to learn how to overcome fear. Karin's got some awesome tools to make that happen. Remember, life's an adventure. Be a part of the solution. Go out, learn, improve, change, think outside the box. We can change the way the world thinks. Be an innovator. I really got to stop getting myself in these situations. That's a leopard, and that's an elephant. Yes, and this is a cheetah.
Like, oh, I saw
Here,
that.
kitty, 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 kitty.
Cute. He wants to play.
Uh-oh, uh-oh, you got it.